We are live. Hi everyone, welcome back to Codera. Today in this video, we'll be discussing the LeetCode daily challenge for 3rd of February. The name of the problem is foursome 2. Previously, this problem has been asked in organizations like Google, Uber. It's also been asked in Facebook and Adobe, Amazon. So consider giving me a +1 in the chat if my voice is audible to everyone and the screen is clearly visible, because we'll be solving this problem. And let me know if someone has solved this problem. So what was your approach for solving this problem, right? Just give me a +1 in the chat if everyone is able to hear my voice, and then we'll start with this particular problem. Hi Abhinav. Okay. Anubhav, sorry. Hi Anubhav. Right, so this problem is foursome 2. As I said previously, this problem has been asked in organizations like, as I said, it has been asked in organizations like Amazon, Google, and it's asked in Uber and Adobe, right? So we'll be discussing this particular problem. Like in this particular problem, what you have to do is, you'll be given 4 arrays, right? You'll be given 4 arrays. Okay, this problem, as I told you, it has been asked in Google, Meta, or Facebook, you can say, Uber, Amazon, Adobe. These questions, these are the companies that have asked this frequently. This is the LeetCode data, right? After this, what the question says is, you will be given 4 arrays, right? You will be given 4 different arrays. You will be given an array A, you will be given an array B, you will be given an array C, you will be given an array D, right? And what you have to do is, you have to find one element from each array. So you have to, what you have to do is, you need to find one element from each array, such that what you have to do is, you have to find one element from this array A, one element from this array B, one element from this array C, and one element from this array D, such that A of I plus B of J plus C of K plus D of L is equal to 0, right? You have to do this. You have to find one element from each array, such that A of I, one element from this array A, another element from this array B, another element from this array C, and one element from this array D, so that when you take the sum of them, so they become 0, right? The total that you get is 0, right? Is the problem statement clear to everyone? What you have to do is, you will be given 4 arrays. Array A, B, C, and D, and you have to pick one element each from all the arrays, such that your total sum of these arrays, that is the first element of the first array plus second plus third plus fourth, each taking like one element from each array, taking the sum, is equal to 0, right? This is what you have to do in this particular problem. Is it clear to everybody? Is the problem statement clear? Okay, it's clear. Perfect, right? So what you can do, a nested loop approach would be very much clear, right? So you have to, this is the question statement. Now, like, let's see some of the test cases. So like, if you have 1 2 and -2 1, let me just draw these test cases so that things can be a little bit better, right? So what we need to do with this particular problem, right? So what you can do is, you can run 4 loops, right? You can start or your I starts from 0. What you have to do is, you have to count all such pairs, where you have to count total number of pairs, total number of those pairs, such that all the 4 elements would be equal to 0, right? Summation of all 4 different elements from different arrays would be equal to 0. So you start a loop for the first, you start a loop for the second, right? J starts from 0, J is lesser than N, because all of them will be of the same size, J plus plus. Then what you do is, you start K starts from 0, K is lesser than N, right? And you do simply a K plus plus. Right after that, what you do, you start L also, because this is for the array A, right? This loop will be running for the array A. So this is nothing. This will give me A of I. This loop will give me B of J. This loop will give me C of K, right? The element from the third array. And another loop that I am running, like this loop, which is running from, let's say, L starts from 0 and L is less than N, and I do an L plus plus, so this will be D of L, right? So every pointer, like I is pointing to the first array, J is pointing to the second, K is pointing to the elements of the third array, and L is pointing to the elements of the fourth array, right? So what I do is, I need to check if A of I plus B of J plus C of K, right? C of K plus D of L is equal to 0. If that is the case, so I do a count plus plus or answer plus plus, right? Because I have to count all such pairs, right? All such scenarios where A of I plus B of J plus C of K plus D of L is equal to 0, right? This part is clear to everyone, right? I hope that it is clear to everyone. If this much part is clear to everyone, please like the video and let me know in the comments that is it clear to everyone, so that I can consider to move ahead. Shall I move ahead? Okay, right. So for this particular approach, if I look at the time complexity, the first loop is taking order of n time, the second loop inner loop is taking order of n time, the third inner loop is also taking order of n time, and the fourth loop will also be taking order of n time, right? So overall, it would take order of n to the power 4, right? Order of n to the power 4 time. Now n is given to me as 500. So if n is given to me as 500, so 500 to the power 4 would give me nothing but 625 into 10 to the power 8. I cannot have more than 10 to the power 8 operations, right? So that's why this would fail. Now the next thing that I can think of is, like, I have to improve my time complexity, right? So what I can do is, let's say I have this equation, right? If I have a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0, if I have this particular equation, and what I do is I have these three variables, right? I have these three variables. If I assume that I just have to find three variables, earlier what you are doing, this is little bit mathematical or just a basic equational approach, right? What I was doing was, I was earlier thinking that I had four unknowns, right? Here I was thinking that I had four unknowns, that is a, b, c and d, four unknowns, right? So that's why I was running four loops. But I can also have three unknowns. How I can have three unknowns? So what I can do instead is, if I have something like a plus b, right? A represents the element of the first array, b represents the element of the second array, c represents the element of the third array, and d represents the element of the final array, last array, right? So a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0, right? If I was using this equation, then it was coming order of n to the power 4, because there are four unknowns, right? Four unknowns are there. But what if I do it like this? If I do it like this, that I have to find a plus b plus c such that it is equal to minus d. That is, I am shifting this to this side. If I do it like this, can I say that I have reduced the equation? Can you explain the test cases again? Yes, I'll explain it. So what you have to do is, you have to just you will be given four arrays, and you have to pick elements from one element from each array, such that a of I plus b of j plus c of k plus d of l is equal to 0, right? What I'm saying is, if you had four unknowns, then this was the equation and this was the time complexity, order of n to the power 4. But what if I reduce my unknowns to 3? That is, I move this d to this side, to the right hand side, and now if I have to find a plus b plus c such that it is equal to minus d, right? If I have to do this, right, then can I say that I have reduced the equation to three unknowns, right? Three unknowns. Now you must have done the problem that is like two sum or three sum problems. Those problems are based on the similar logic, right? Is this much part clear to everyone? Let me know in the comments. Please give me a +1 in the chat, right? I did what? Initially I had four unknowns, right? If a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0, if I was checking for this thing, then instead of doing this, what I do is I move my d to the right side, and in this case I'll have three unknowns. So that means I can run three loops. Now the thing is, now how will I have minus d? So I can store d in a map, right? I can store d in a map. You can say, I can, like, if I have to do this, so like, instead of writing it like this, what I could do is, I can also say that this is the equation. So I can also write it like d is equal to nothing but minus of a plus b plus c, right? So I have three unknowns here, one unknown, second unknown, and the third unknown. So if I put d into a map, right, if I put all the values of d into a map and search for each of the, like, if I run a loop such that d is becoming my target, right, if d becomes my target value and I'm searching for it, then I have three unknowns, right? So d is there in the map. So every time I'm checking that whether an a plus b plus c minus of a plus b plus c is there present in the map or not. If it is present, so that means there is a d, and in that case this equation would satisfy, right? A plus b plus c is equal to 0, right? That's perfect, right? So this is what would happen. So what I would do is I'll simply declare a map, unordered map or something like that. That depends on you. Unordered map, hash map, anything, right? Unordered map like this, int and empty, right? Then what I will do is I'll run for the loop d, for the array d, for I starts from 0, I is lesser than n, and I do an I plus plus. What I do next is I do MP of d of I plus plus, right? So I increment all the numbers that are there in d. Let's say if my d array had something like let's say 1, 2 and 4, like if d array had this, so in my map I'll have 1, I'll have 2 and I'll have 4, right? These values that I'll be having, right? Now, if D is the array that's been given to me, right? So now, as I said that I have reduced the equation to three unknowns, right? A plus B plus C is equal to minus D. So can I say that if I have to find it like this, A plus B plus C is equal to minus D, right? A plus B plus C is equal to minus D. If I have done it like that, so I can also write it as D is equal to minus of A plus B plus C. So if I find, if I have these values, right, if I iterate for a triple loop like 3, if I run for n cube solution, that is for the first loop, then for the second, and for the third, and if I find a pair, if I find in my map that minus of A plus B plus C is existing, so that will mean that a D is existing, right? Because a D can be represented like this, minus of A plus B plus C. So that is what I will do. So what I will do is I'll run a loop like this. So for my I would be starting from 0, I would be lesser than n, you can say, and I'll simply do an I plus plus for the, this would be for the array A, right? This would be for the A of I, and then what next up what I'll do is for j starts from 0 and j is lesser than n, and I'll do a j plus plus, right? After this will be for the B of j, right, for the element of the second array, and then I need a third, right? So I'll do what for k starts from 0, k is lesser than n, and I simply do a k plus plus, right? So this would be C of k. So each unknown I will be getting, right? So as I said that my D is equal to what? Notice what my D is equal to. D is equal to nothing but minus of A plus B plus C, right? So I have to check that this is what, this is A of I, right? This is B of j, and this is C of k, right? So I have to check that whether adding this value and putting a minus sign, if this value is present in the map, so that means that the D, I have found D. So that would mean that if this equation is true, so that means A plus B plus C plus D would be equal to 0, and I've reduced it to 3 unknowns, right? Please write clear in the chat if up till now things are clear to you. So what I'll do is I'll check that if in my map, like if in my map I have minus of A of I plus B of j plus C of k, right? If I have this value present, so that would mean that D is present, right? That would mean that D is present. So in that case, I'll do a count plus plus simply, right? Count plus plus, why? Because I'll say that, okay, I have a pair such that this equation is getting satisfied, right? And if this equation is getting satisfied, so that simply means that the answer is present, right? If A plus B plus C plus D is equal to 0, as I said like this, so what I'm saying is you bring D to this side, so what becomes A plus B plus C is equal to minus D. So I can say that I have three unknowns, right? 3 unknowns, and this is my target that I want. I can also say that I want D such that D is equal to minus of A plus B plus C. For this, I can say that if I have D, so I have put all the values of D in a map, right? I have all the values of D in a map, and if I have all of them in a map, so what I could do is I could directly check if there is an AI and Bi and Bj and Cj, right? If there are 3 elements all belonging to the different 3 different arrays, such that their addition with a minus sign, if it is present in the map, so that will mean that D is present, and if D is present, so that means this equation would be satisfied, that is A plus B plus C is equal to 0, because of this equation signifies to nothing but this, right? So that will mean that I can do a counter plus plus. Please give me a plus 1 in the chat if this part is also clear, right? Now next up, for that particular approach, when I am doing it like that, okay, so what I'm doing is, like as I told you, this is what I'm doing, right? Minus of A plus B plus C, right? This is what I'm doing. If I'm doing it this way, so I'm running 1 order of n loop for this particular thing, 1 order of n loop for this, and 1 order of n loop for this, and all is nested, right? One I for the one loop I starting from 0 up till less than n, and this is for the array A, this is for A of I, another inside it for B of I, another inside it for C of I, right? And then I'm checking if minus of A of I plus B of I plus minus of like j and k, right? This would be j and k minus b of j plus c of k. If this particular value, like summation of a of I plus b of j plus c of k with a negative sign, if that is present in the map, then in that case what I'm saying, I am doing a count plus plus, right? So I'm running 3 nested loops inside, so that would be nothing but order of n cube, right? Because the first loop would also run order of n, the inside loop on it would run order of n, and this loop will also run order of n, so it would be order of n cube, right? Now this particular approach is also not optimal. Why? Because if you will say that, you will say that, okay, right, in that particular case, when I'm doing it like this, when I'm reducing the equation like this, that d is equal to nothing but minus of a plus b plus c plus d, right? So something like this, high peaky blinder. Okay, so if this is the equation that I'm having, so with this equation, the thing is that I have still 3 unknowns, right? So the space complexity of mine would be nothing but order of n, because I'm storing the array d. Right? In the map I'm storing the array d, so that's why space complexity would be order of n, and the time complexity would be order of n cube, right? Order of n cube, which is still not good. Why? Because 500 to the power 3 would give me something like you can say what, 125 into 10 to the power 6, right? So this is still very, very large. Like if you do this is nothing but 1.25 into 10 to the power 8. It's still very large, and you have to consider that there would be a lot of operations still, right? So it's still not good. It might still give you a TLE if the constraints are too tight, right? So that's why it's not perfect still. So what I could do is I can reduce this equation, this particular thing, to two unknowns, right? What I can do is, instead of checking it for three unknowns, I can check it for two unknowns. Like I did this thing, right? A plus b plus c is equal to d, plus c plus d is equal to 0. So I said that let's say that a plus b plus c is equal to minus d, right? So I said that d is equal to minus of a plus b plus c, right? So here we had how many unknowns? We had three unknowns, right? We had three unknowns. So that's why you were running order of n cube times. But what I'm saying now is I'm saying that instead of having three unknowns, you can reduce the equation to two unknowns, right? So what do I mean by that? So if you have a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0, if you have things like this, so what you do is you just take this this particular thing here and you bring it on the right side. Okay, so what happens? This will be looking like a plus b is equal to minus of c plus d, right? This is what the equation would look like. A plus b is equal to minus of c plus d. So if your c and d, if your c plus d is stored in a map, if I store all the values of c plus d, right? If in a map I store all the values of c plus d in a map, right? So that means that this would be nothing but my target. So if I have to find a plus b is equal to minus of target, something like this, so I have to do this. So if I just have a little bit of optimization here, so that means nothing but I need to find c plus d is equal to minus of a plus b, right? So that means that I need to find a target. C plus d is nothing but a target. So I have a target, that is c plus d is equal to nothing but minus of a plus b. So can I say that I have reduced it to two unknowns, right? Please give me a plus one in the chat if you agree with me. Like I have reduced the equation to two unknowns here, right? Now I know c plus d. If I know c plus d is already present in my map. All the values of like ci plus dj, something like that, is present in the map. Like all the summations of with every element of c, like if this is the c and this is the d, so with this element of c, with this particular element of c, I take the sum of with this and this. With this element of c, I take the sum with this and this, and then with this element of c, I take the sum with this and this, all the elements, right? So in this way I'll be able to get all the pairs of c plus d. So in that case I can say that I have reduced it to two unknowns, right? So that means nothing but two unknowns. So if I have just two unknowns, that is what I'm saying, that if in my map I have a map which is containing the value c plus d, right? So what I will be doing is, how will I generate this map? First of all, so I'll do I is equal to 0, I is lesser than n, I'll do an I plus plus. Then what I'll do next is, for j would be starting from 0, j would be lesser than n, right? If up till now things are clear, that's perfect, right? Okay, so this is what I will do. Then in my map, what I will do is I'll mark this value c of I plus d of j plus plus, right? Plus plus. So this is what I'm doing. Like for every value, let's say if this was the array c, like if c had two elements and suppose d had three elements. So what I will do is, I'll first, this element will make count pair with this and this. Then what I'll do, this particular element, the second element would make pair with this and this, like this. Okay, so this is a nested loop. So order of n time for this loop and order of n time for this loop, and total number of combinations that would be stored if c has two elements and d has three elements, right? If the array c has two elements and d has three elements, if the array c has two elements and d has three elements, so how many pair of c plus d would I make? I'll make 6 pairs, right? So that is nothing but size of c into size of d, and that both of them are having size n, right? If both of them are of size 3, so in that case it would be nothing but 3 into 3, that is 9. So that means order of n square. So the map would take the space complexity of order of n square, right? The total number of pairs that I will be storing in my map is order of n square. Please give me a plus one in the chat if this much part is also clear, right? Then only then I'll be able to proceed further, right? So what I'm saying is, you store all the pairs of the ci plus dj, all the pairs of c, the summation of the ith of c plus d. You store all the pairs in the map such that they will be your target, they will be behaving like your target, right? And then what you will get in the map is, you will store in your map n square values, right? In your map you are storing all the pairs c of I plus d of j, right? This is what you are doing, and total number of pairs would be if c has n elements and d has n elements, and if one element of c is making a pair with every other element of d, right, then the second element would also make pair with every other element of d. So if one element is making with n, so n elements would be making with n into n, so that will mean n square, right? So the space complexity of the map would be n square. This is something that I wanted to let you know. Now the thing is that let's come back to the two unknown situation, right? So let's come back to the situation that we had two unknowns. So as I said that if we have two unknowns, so what does that mean? So that simply means that now I'll be running for the target same like as I did earlier. So what I'll do is I'll do for I starts from 0, I is lesser than nothing but n, and I'll do an I plus plus. So I'll be checking for a, I'll be checking what? I'll be checking that if I have to find c plus d, right? So I have to find this thing, let me write it, c plus d is equal to minus of a plus b. So I have reduced it to two unknowns. So one loop will be running for a of I, this would be running from a of I, and another would be running for b of j, right? B of j, and I'll be checking for the minus of a of I plus b of j, right? So my j would be starting from 0 and j would be lesser than n, and I'll simply do a j plus plus. Once I'm done with that, so what does it mean? So I'll check if in my map, if I have nothing but minus of a of I plus b of j, if this is present, so that means that c plus d is present, right? If minus of a of I minus of a plus b is present, so that means c plus d is present, and then that would simply indicate that this equation would get satisfied, a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0, and that would mean that I will get a pair. So that's why I'll do a counter plus plus, right? Please write clear plus plus in the chat if this part is clear to everyone, right? So that is why I'll count in this, and I'll keep on counting, right? I can do it like that, right? So this is what I will do, and like this is the way of doing it. So this loop is taking order of n time, this loop is also taking order of n time. So as you can see, time complexity would be order of n square, right? So that is what I'm saying. So now if you will see, look at the constraint. So since n is 500, so it would be nothing but 500 into 500, so that would be nothing but 25 into 10 to the power 4. So this would be the time. Now like let me write it clearly. So the time complexity for this particular approach that I have thought, like two unknowns, so order of n square, because like if you store c plus d, right, order of n square plus order of n square, so that is nothing but order of n square overall, right? One loop you are running for storing all the values of c plus d, all the pairs of c plus d, right? And in your map you are storing order of n pairs, right? Order of n pair, like n square pairs of c plus d, right? For one element of c you have n elements, right? For the first element of c you pair it with n elements of d. So for n elements of c you pair it with n into n, that is n square elements, right? So that is total n square will be the space complexity of your code, right? Is this much part clear to everyone? Please give me a +1 in the chat and like the video if this much part is clear, right? So this is the question. Like I told you what? I told you that initially the approach approach 1 that I thought was of order of n to the power 4, because initially I was thinking that I have a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0. So initially I was thinking that I had 4 unknowns, right? 4 unknowns. But what I thought was, let's in the approach 2 I thought that let's reduce the number of unknowns to 3. So I thought that a plus b plus c is equal to minus d. Let's do it like that. So basically that would mean that d is equal to nothing but minus of a plus b plus c. So I can have 3 unknowns. So in that case the space time complexity would be order of n cube, and the space complexity would be order of n, because I'm storing one array, right? I'm storing array d in my map. Now coming to the third approach, right? So the third approach that we discussed, it seemed to be the most optimal, and in this approach what I said was that let's reduce it to 2 unknowns, a plus b plus c plus d is equal to 0. So you do a plus b is equal to minus of c plus d, right? Minus of c plus d. So that means nothing but c plus d is equal to minus of a plus b. So you now just will be reduced to 2 unknowns, and you run an order of, and you store all the pairs of c plus d in a map, and that all the total number of pairs would be order of n square. So the map's space complexity would be order of n square. And since you are running 2 loops for finding the first unknown a and the second unknown b, so that's why it would be order of n square time complexity, right? Let me show you that how the code is working. If up till now things are clear, so a +1 or a clear in the chat would help, right? Just a small acknowledgement from your side. Okay, so I'll submit my code just to let you know that my code would be working. So you can also find the code in the description. So you can see that I've just submitted it just now and it's perfectly working, right? So let me show you my code. So what I've done is, like as I said, I'll be given the vector A, I'll be given the vector B, I'll be given the vector C, that is the third vector, I'll be given the vector D. You might be given a vectorial list, that depends on the language that you're using. And what you will be doing is, you have an unordered map of int comma int. So basically, like the sum, this is nothing but the pairing that you have done, right? And this is nothing but the sum with respect to the frequency, like how many number of times it is occurring, right? So what I do is, I have n, because all of the arrays would be of size n, so I store the size n, and I have the answer that I would be returning, that is the total count. What I do is, this is order of n square approach. So I first of all take all the pairs of C of I and D of j, right? And I increment it into my map, right? I run two loops, first loop for C of I, second for D of j, to store all the pairs, all the n square pairs of C and D, right? So in the map I store C of I plus D of j, right? Like this. And then what I do is, I run another loop for finding minus of a of I plus b of j, and there could be several occurrences, right? So in the answer I just increment answer plus is equal to map of minus of a of I plus b of j, right? So that I can count, like if there are more than one occurrence, if it is occurring more than one time, so in that case I will not do a counter plus plus, I will basically increment it with the number of times it is occurring. Like let's suppose that minus of a of I plus b of j is occurring 2 times, so that means I will have 2 such pairs, right? So that's why I'm doing this, right? So that's why I'm adding the map frequency from the map directly. Please give me a +1 if this part is also clear. So this was the code part for this particular problem, and as I said that you can try to submit this code by your own, try to write it. Like it was a basic problem of hashing, and this problem was as I said previously asked in Google, it was also asked in Uber, it was also asked in Amazon and Adobe, and it was also asked in Meta, or you can say Facebook, right? So these are the companies that have primarily asked it. Apart from this, other companies have also asked it, but these are the main companies that have asked it. So you can consider to like the video, and after the video is over you can give a feedback in the comments, like whether you liked it or not. And like coming back to the thing, so as you can see, the poster of the channel banner has got updated. So we'll be bringing in a lot, like you have to wait this till this weekend, just till Sunday. You see like how the frequency of the videos would increase, and how I'll be also pushing a lot of videos, a lot of recordings of the contest that would be happening. So you can consider to subscribe this channel if you are doing peer programming, or if you have some friends who are doing some programming and you just feel like this channel would make a difference to them, so you can consider to share this channel with them. And like as you can see, I'm doing the LeetCode daily stream every day, so this is the 22nd day or something like that. So that's why I'm saying that you can try to be consistent as possible. Like, and the companies that we have mentioned, it is the LeetCode data, it is the original data. This is not like I have not written Fang, like it's actually I've written all the companies that I have been that is this question has been asked, right? So you can consider to like this video, give it a like, share this with your friends if someone is doing coding. And if you have any feedback for me, so I'm here for 30 seconds more. If you want to say anything, then you can say. If it was clear to you, then you can write clear in the chat or clear plus plus in the chat. That a little acknowledgement from your side would help. Just do that, and I'm here for 30 seconds more, and then I'll end the stream. If you want to ask anything regarding the channel, if anything else, then you can do that. Otherwise things would be fine, right? So like telling you, so I'll be doing the LeetCode bi-weekly this week. I'll be also doing the LeetCode weekly challenge this week. I'll also be doing the codeforces contest this week. So a lot of things are packed up in this weekend, so just stay tuned. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Till then, keep coding and stay safe, right?